Hello. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jerry Opoka. And if you're here for the first time, I welcome you very warmly. If you're a repeat visitor, I welcome you and I thank you for taking the time to come back. If you have not, please subscribe, click the notification button, and like the video if you find the content of any use to you, or if you like it, because that is how YouTube gets more people to see it, so that it blesses somebody else. Today's topic is suicide. I know. Recently, my nephew came to me and he said, Auntie Jerry, do people, he actually said, people who commit suicide go to hell, right? I said, no. I mean, forget that I don't believe in hell, but in his little mind, I did not want to get into that discussion. But I said, no, they don't go to hell. And he was shocked. He said, but God punishes people who commit suicide and he does not, he's not kind to them at all. I said, that is not true. So he sits down and says, what do you mean? And then I go ahead and explain. And after giving the explanation, then I realized that this is something that I probably should talk about. What I say to him is that a person who commits suicide doesn't just wake up one morning and say, you know what, today I just want to be so rebellious and I'm going to commit suicide. Like, that is how I choose to rebel against whoever they're rebelling against. I said, it doesn't happen that way. And I said to him, people who commit suicide are actually in a lot of pain before they commit suicide. Their pain, some of them is physical, but there's a lot of mental torment that they are going through, where they feel like there is nothing else that can bring them the relief that they need. There's nothing that can fix their problem while on earth. They probably will have, thought through different options. Some of them will have sought help from a friend, from a significant other, from a doctor even, from a pastor, a preacher, anyone. And it just doesn't hit the spot. It just doesn't work for them. And they feel that the only way out is to commit suicide. Committing suicide is what it's called. The only way out is to leave this earth, okay? And that is to aid themselves to stop living on this realm, because they find that nothing can work. By this time, they have considered all possibilities and they make a plan. They start, because not many people will wake up one morning and, I don't even know if they exist, just decide to kill themselves. It's normally premeditated. They have looked at the different options available to them, what is easiest, what is quickest. And many times, by the time a person actually commits suicide, they have attempted before. A lot of the times they've actually attempted and either it didn't work or they chickened out. And why do they chicken out, you'd wonder? Because they were already going to commit suicide. So what are you afraid of? They are not committing suicide because suicide is fun. They commit suicide because nothing else seems to work and they do not trust that anyone can understand them. Now, I've got some notes here in case you see me looking down. I just don't want to rumble too much and go off. So, the topic of death is a taboo. The topic of suicide is even worse. Like, you cannot just start saying, I was thinking the other day that, I want to kill myself. You absolutely cannot say that, because people will never ever forget that you said it. So this is not something that comes easy for them, for a person who is thinking about ending their life. It's not something that's easy for them to talk about. But death is the ultimate bad thing. And we also speak about it like, my God, if you die, then it's the absolute worst thing that could ever happen to you. Never mind that there's so many other things that could be worse than death. But in as far as we're concerned, death is the worst thing. Suicide is even worse than death. Why? No one wants to die. No one wants to talk about death. No one wants to even think about death, even when it's right before our eyes. We don't want to think about it. We don't ever want to be to have to deal with death. We don't like even discussing it in a way that, let's just try and understand. We don't. So suicide is even worse. Now, the church will say when somebody commits suicide, they go straight to hell. When somebody commits suicide, God does not even give you a listening ear. Like, you are out, and He writes you off without, the so-called purgatory, without first heaven, second heaven, without, you die, you go straight to hell. So that is a church. In African culture, it's the same. When a person commits suicide, oh my God, it's like you've brought a bad omen to the family, you've brought a bad omen to the clan and all these. But, and what they do when somebody has committed suicide, let's assume they committed suicide outside on a tree, on a branch of a tree. What they'd ordinarily do, or some cultures, they will take a stick and beat the body of the deceased. It's like they're punishing the body or the person for what they have done. Then they will dig a hole under the person, like deep enough, so that when they cut the rope, the body just drops into that hole and it will be covered. They, for the most part, are buried in unmarked graves. Now you'd wonder, and I wondered for a very long time, why go through all this for a person who has already died? We know that the spirit is not there. We know that it's just the shell now that is left. But why do all this to the body of a person who has hanged themselves? And why say all these things like, if you die, you're going straight to hell and so on and so forth? This is not a message for the deceased. This is a message that is being sent to all those who are living, to say, if you ever consider committing suicide, this is what you're going to go through. If you ever think about killing yourself, you're going straight to hell. Basically trying to tell us that if we commit suicide, we're going to suffer after we've died. Now, it makes me wonder, this, first of all these scare tactics is because we are so afraid of death that we cannot fathom in our minds how somebody decides that they are going to do the thing that we are most scared of. That someone is going to voluntarily put a rope around their neck or poison themselves and end their lives. Many times we like to say, imagine he or she did not think about the children, they did not think about their spouse, they did not think about, there were so many other ways they should have spoken to somebody. But all these things, what the church does, what culture does, the things that we say about suicide is meant for those who are still living, so that you don't ever allow that thought to cross your mind. Now, I also started thinking, so God sends people who commit suicide straight to hell. Why? Why are they any different from any other death? Because they took their life, and that's the ultimate wrong. Okay, let's assume it's the ultimate wrong. This person killed themselves. We kill ourselves every day. Does God punish the quick suicide, or does He punish all suicides? What about the slow suicides that we commit every day? Slow suicide could include smoking cigarettes. And you know that cigarette smoking is harmful to your health. It's on the packet of cigarettes. So many people who have had lung cancer and died. They have died not because a cigarette company did, I don't know what. They have died not because somebody shot them. No. They went and bought a cigarette every day. Before they got addicted, they went and bought a cigarette. They made a conscious decision, a lifestyle decision, that they were going to look cool smoking. People who drink, before they get to the point of addiction, they make a conscious decision to drink. They get to a point where the alcohol is now starting to take over. They know But some people still like, the thrill. They still like the excitement that comes. They still like to hang. How many people do we know of who go out of their way, regardless of all the information we've received about eating healthy, will go out and still eat things in excess that we are not supposed to eat? How many people have heard about processed food that we should not be eating? How many people have heard the dangers of consuming excess amounts of sugar and soda and, packed juices and all kinds of things and fried stuff? Yet we continue to go ahead and do it. Some people even start to suffer from heart disease, diabetes, but they will still go out and consume the thing that they know is making them sick. Tell me, is that not suicide? Because in my books, it really is suicide. So which suicide does God punish? Okay? And we've had people make comments, and I don't, but people laugh about comments like, you know what, even if I exercise, I will still die. Even the people who exercise will still die. And I know somebody who ate healthy, and you know what, they still died at 40 something. So I might as well eat whatever I want to eat. You are making a conscious decision to kill yourself. The difference between you and the person who has hung themselves is only the amount of time it has taken for the suicide to take effect. So I don't understand when people say God will punish you when you commit suicide. You're saying He will punish you when you kill yourself quickly. But if you do it slowly and you get sick and you're in hospital for months on end, God is kinder to you. So maybe that's, one way that we're saying is acceptable. And aside from that, when we make the conscious decision to kill ourselves slowly, we're doing it for lifestyle. We're doing it because the food tastes nice. We're doing it because we're too lazy to exercise. We're doing it because we have a cool car and I would rather drive to wherever and not walk because it's inconveniencing. In fact, we're killing ourselves because of convenience. We're killing ourselves because we want to look cool. All right? Yet, the person who takes a rope and puts it around their neck or takes painkillers and pops them and kills themselves, they are doing it from a place of pain. Okay? They're doing it from a place of pain. So I don't see how God will punish that person who is in pain. Now, we like to say that if you repent before you die, God will forgive you of all your sins. And so basically we need to be prepared for death always. I believe and I bet you that a person who commits suicide has prepared by the time they even write a note to say why they're going to die, and they've planned it out nicely. Trust me, they have prayed to God because they know what they're doing is not right, but they know that for them, as far as they're concerned, there's no way out, and they will speak to God and say, I'm coming, forgive me, I just cannot take it anymore. If God wasn't going to punish them, He would not let them die. Rather, if God was going to punish them, He would say, no, I don't want to punish you because you have prayed to me and because you're in so much pain. I'm going to fix your problem without you dying. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. Now, in all this conversation and this whole thing with suicide, we are looking at the situation from the perspective of we who are living, from the perspective of the loved ones of the deceased. We're looking at it from the perspective of the children. If I have not considered suicide, if I cannot even understand how I cannot, this is what we always say, I can't put that thought in my head. How do you think this one individual got to that point? Because all of us, death is the most unnatural thing. It is natural in the sense that we're all going to die. And now I know that it's natural. But we also feel that death is, even though everyone is going to die, we all believe death is the most unnatural thing. What makes a man or a woman who has their life right in front of them? They've got everything planned out. They've got children, they've got a spouse, they have friends. What makes that person decide that they are going to take and end their own life? Can we stop for a moment and think, what would make me, Jerry, kill myself? Right now, I can tell you that there's nothing that would make me kill myself. But that's because there's nothing right now that will make me kill myself. So when we look at it from our perspective, we cannot even fathom that this can happen. But I would like us to stop for a moment and look at this from the perspective of the deceased. What were they going through? How much pain did they have when they decided they were going to end their own life? How long were they in pain? What was this issue that grew from a tiny problem and kept piling and piling and piling and piling until they decided the best solution is for me to leave this planet and die? The best solution is for me to leave and leave my children. The best solution is for me to leave my wife, leave my friends. I know they will be in pain, but I am better off. They are better off. Everyone is better off if I am dead. Can you even stop for a moment to think what goes on in a person's mind? How much pain, how much suffering they're going through to get to that point? Before we think about ourselves and how we feel, those of us who are still alive, do we ever think that maybe we missed the signs? Because people don't wake up in the morning and just decide, oh, today I just kind of feel so good, I'm going to kill myself. No. They've been suffering for a while. I bet you lots and lots and lots of money they have tried to reach out. But we are so busy. We're too busy to really see. And, sometimes when you look back at, how you related with these people, you'll find that you notice that they were not okay. Sometimes they even said it. Now, if we start to look at it from their perspective, maybe we will be kinder when we make certain comments. And because some of these comments we make, they actually hurt the loved ones even more, those who were around this person, So our failure to help, we have to not forget that. Death is still death, okay? Death is still death. We just feel like theirs is worse. Theirs, how they've arrived at death is worse. But also, in all fairness to friends and family and spouses, people who have reached that point where they want to commit themselves have hidden what their plan is from everyone, and they become masters at it. They become masters at it. Why? Because they do not want to, they feel like they're burdening someone else, so they don't want to burden them anymore. That's why they're leaving anyway. They just feel like they cannot deal with the problem anymore. They do not want to burden anyone. Maybe some decisions they've made are going to affect people negatively, so they choose to leave the earth. Now, the person who has committed suicide on their own have a big role to play. We have a role to play. There is also a huge lack of understanding and awareness of mental health issues. That's why it's so easy for things to slip by, because we never know. We never take note of when something has started, when, how much worse it's getting, because we're all so busy. So I've pointed out where the perspective we come from when we look at this, and where the church comes from, where culture leaders come from, and cultures and so on and so forth. Everyone is afraid of death. Everyone wants to avoid the topic. Everyone hopes that no one is crazy enough to wish death upon themselves to the point where they actually go and commit suicide. So, from a point of fear of death, we say all kinds of things, sometimes very insensitive. Okay? That's one, the perspective from which we speak. Number two, we forget that the person who commits suicide is in pain. Number three, we miss the signs. Okay? Number four, we miss the signs also because we do not know how to read them. Sometimes we do not know how to read that they are getting worse, and the person who is planning it is hiding it from us. Number five is the person who is planning it. Okay? Something is not right in here. If you put all these five together, it's not as simple as we think it is. To say the person should have spoken. They probably did. They should have thought about their children. I'm sure they did. They should have known that they're going to go to hell. At that point, it did not matter. They just needed to leave the current situation that they were in, that they just could not take anymore. So whichever way you look at it, suicide there's a lot more that is going on. And we need, again, like I always say, we need to be kind. We need to be kind for the sake of especially people who have stayed behind. Just try and understand a bit more. But also, do not blame. If you're close, you can't blame yourself. I'm not saying blame yourself. I'm saying there's a whole wide picture that is involved. It's not just simply saying, don't commit suicide. If you commit suicide, you're going to hell. God doesn't love you. Then now I will sit back and say, God really doesn't love my husband or my wife or my sister, my brother. And I know that wherever they are, they will never be forgiven. And so I don't know how to relate to them. Do I honor their memory? Do I pray for them? Because theirs was a one-way ticket to hell. What do I do? So those are the things that, questions that we leave people with when we make some of these comments. Thank you so much. The sun is going to bed and I should stop this video now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please share and let's tell me what you think. Tell me what your comments are and like so that the algorithm can push this out to anyone who needs this information. Thank you.